Hello, my name is Vanessa. Welcome to our virtual yoga class. I'm here to support you for the rest of your practice. So one of our goals is to integrate our physical, mental, emotional bodies. So we'll do that as we settle here. We'll begin class by laying on our backs. And we do so, we lay here on our backs to shift into a more restorative pose before the more active portion of class. Here we start to become intentional about bridging our physical, mental, emotional bodies through our breath, cultivating that inner sense of stillness and spaciousness. And I emphasize the word cultivate. It's not something that just automatically happens. Through practice, we're able to access this more and more. Take a generous, intentional breath, inhaling here, exhaling, perhaps sighing out. And invite a body scan here, noticing the points that your body meets the mat, from the back of your head all the way down to your heels. Our breath is our anchor as we move through the poses. We're working on our physical health, our endurance, our flexibility, our strength. We're also working on our mental and emotional well-being. And we do so by becoming more aware of how our body communicates to us. So as you're laying here on your backs, taking intentional breaths, take inventory here, perhaps noticing an area you personally want to focus on. It could be your neck, it could be your hips. See where most of your attention might go for the rest of class. And that's a physical component. A more mental and emotional component is perhaps an intention. It could be a word or phrase, something you can go back to help ground you, something you want to continue cultivating for yourself outside of your yoga class. Intentionally lengthening your inhale and exhale if you have trouble concentrating. Together here, let's inhale here, exhale, side out. Notice that release, physical, mental, emotional. Second time out of 3, inhale, exhale, side out. Feel free to hear your inhale and hear your exhale. Exhale, sigh out. And then start to lift your arms up overhead, full body stretch, interlace your fingers, point your toes, lift your abdomen up towards the ceiling. Just a gentle stretch here, opening wherever it is that most of your attention falls. It could be your ankles, it could be your lower back, it could be between your shoulder blades. And then after a few moments there, start to bring both soles of the feet together. Hands rest on your belly, your chest. Remain here a few breath cycles, inhaling and exhaling. Now you have access to full diaphragm breathing here. So inhale deeply and exhale deeply. Now we tend to not practice deep breathing, or as we move throughout the day, our breath tends to be more shallow. Therefore, practice what that full breath experience feels like so that you can more easily access it at any time. Whenever you feel that full breath can help you in whatever challenge or whatever moment you're in. Practice that deep breathing, which is easier said than done. There sometimes our full breath, there can be a sense of discomfort with our breath, and that can be for a host of reasons, or just the concentration as well of maintaining those deep, long breaths. So just a few rounds here, deep, full belly breaths throughout the class. See if you can invite that full breath as much as you can as well, but it's all right if you take some normal breaths. Soften the neck down the spine, down to the hips. You can imagine those knees fall further towards the floor. Three more breaths here in this butterfly pose. And then start to bring your knees back together. You're going to rest that left ankle on top of that right thigh. Weave your left hand between your legs. Interlace your fingers behind that right thigh. Bring your thigh closer towards your belly or chest. You're focusing on a stretch on that left outer hip. Notice where your boundary is and fold just a little bit more. It can be subtle. Inhale. And exhale, release. Now opposite side. Right ankle or shin on top of that left thigh. Weave your right hand between your legs. Interlace your fingers behind that left thigh. You can let your hip kind of hang in here. You can bring your thigh closer towards you. You can intensify that stretch. Neck and shoulders remain soft and relaxed. Inhale. Exhale. Deep belly breath and release. Knees are bent, feet float off the floor. Ground your spine, forehead towards your knees. And now hands on the mat. Let's lift up, lengthen our legs out in front, flex your feet. So we're gonna lengthen our spine. We lengthen our spine just by activating our core, gently opening the chest, shoulders are soft, chin is soft. You're gonna have a little micro bend to your knee. Start to lead with your chest, your heart, and fold. Hands can reach thighs, shins, or toes. Notice your boundary. And please invite intentional breaths. These intentional breaths allow yourself to deepen into your flexibility. So the only way that we increase our flexibility is by breathing just a little past our boundary. Once again, this can be subtle. It doesn't have to be dramatic or painful. Sometimes you can fold just a little bit more by dropping your belly a little bit more towards the floor, releasing any rounding in the lower back, lengthening the spine, rolling your shoulders back can be enough to activate a deeper stretch in the lower body. And release, bend that left knee, plant your foot onto the mat, lift your right arm, hook your elbow on your knee, twist towards the left. So as I'm twisting, I'm flexing my right foot towards the front. I'm taking my chin towards my left shoulder. I'm purposely lengthening the spine. And release. Now opposite side, bend your right knee, flex your left foot. Lengthen your spine, put your elbow onto that knee, chin moves towards that right shoulder draws down. Inhale, exhale. And release, bring both soles of the feet together. Lead through your chest and fold about 5 breaths. Inhale and exhale. You don't have to necessarily count the breaths. It's more of an estimate. Feel free to hear your inhale and your exhale. It's going to invite some more mindful breathing, and it's going to invite you to this present moment. We're letting go of our to-do list. We're here in this moment, in gratitude. Inhale. Deep belly breath. Inhale. Exhale and release. Shift into a tabletop. Round your palms right beneath your shoulders, knees with hips width distance apart. Lift your left leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. So the more you bend your knee, you're gonna activate a nice soft stretch there in the quads, left quad. You're also opening around your hip and glute. Round your spine, press through your palms. Knee and chin move towards your chest. You hover here. And I'll lift your leg again, bend your knees, stack your hips. And I'll lengthen your leg. Core is activated. Press that left palm onto the floor and lift your right arm up. We're in a balance here. Inhale. Exhale, leg and arm are parallel to the floor. You can keep your gaze down towards the floor. Take your gaze straight ahead of you. Release. Inhale, cow pose. Exhale, cat pose. Inhale, cow. Exhale, cat. One more round. And now lift your right leg, bend your right knee, stack your hips. And then chin and knee towards your chest, press through your palms. Lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. Remember that bend to that knee. Make sure you have it bent. Notice that stretch on the right quad. Back to neutral. You're lengthening your leg now. Press that right palm onto the floor. Lift your left arm up, balance. And release your left hand, release your knee. Inhale, up, cow pose. Exhale, round your spine, cat pose. 2 more rounds. And then after you've taken the total of 3 rounds, step back into your child's pose, either knees close together or towards the edges of your mat. Arms are stretched out, palms on the mat, forehead on the mat. Sit back into your seat, lengthen your spine, open and drop your chest and belly towards the floor. Re-engage with an intentional breath, lengthening the length of your inhale and exhale just a little longer if you need some extra support and concentration. As a reminder, you're arriving to this present moment. As you welcome your breath, you're welcoming the experience of you. This is a process of gratitude and self-care. Recall that intention. It could be a word or phrase you said earlier in class. Re-engage with that intention. Breathe into that intention. About 3 more breaths in your child's pose. And then after those 3 breaths or so, we'll shift from your child pose into a forward fold. You're going to plant that left hand onto the mat. Bend your left knee generously. Lift your right arm up towards the ceiling. Take your gaze up. Don't forget to breathe. You can place some gentle pressure on your right heel to intensify a stretch in the hips and hamstrings and glutes. Don't forget to breathe and release. Right hand on the mat, lift your left arm up towards the ceiling. Take your gaze up. Don't forget to breathe. There's a generous bend to that right knee for extra support. And release. From here, you can either roll up slowly or sweep your arms up overhead to standing. You're grounding through your heels and then integrating all that energy down to your heart center. I recommend closing your eyes, or if your eyes are open, focus on one point across the floor or room. A steady gaze is a steady mind. Notice by welcoming your breath, you're inviting a space of gratitude. You're welcoming your experience. Inhale. Exhale. Release. You'll bend your knees, chair pose, ground your heels onto the mat. You're lifting your tailbone here. Spine is long, chest is open. Arms radiate forward. Glutes and quads are engaged, supporting you here. And then release, softening your neck, your head. Inhale, halfway up once. Exhale, release. Your choice how you come up to standing. Be intentional. We're all finding balance in different ways, integrating our physical, mental, emotional bodies in different ways. Eyes opened or eyes closed. Inhale. Exhale. Release. You'll start to lift your left leg, bend your knee. Take your left hand over your knee. Take your right arm out. And then open up your knee towards the left. Holding here. Notice your balance. Remain here. Keep your gaze steady across the floor or room. Bring your leg back, release your knee, extended mountain pose, open up your chest, your heart. Take your gaze up towards the ceiling, shoulders set back. Release your hands. Opposite side, lift your right knee, grab your knee, take your arm out, balance. Feel free to step in or out. Hold, inhale. Exhale and release. Extended mountain pose. Arms lift. Chest is open. Exhale, release. Now chair pose. Lift your tailbone. Arms radiate forward and drop down, softening neck and head. And then sweep your arms up overhead or roll up slowly. Make it your personal practice. Perhaps recall that intention you set earlier in class. Release. Lift your left leg, knee is bent, open up here, take your arm out. Now you can remain here or grab your big toe with your index or middle finger and lengthen your leg. Inhale, exhale. And release. Pedal your feet back and forth, opposite side. And then once again, you can remain here, just grabbing your knee, taking your arm out. You can remain here or take your middle finger or index or both. Grab that big toe, lengthen your leg as much as you can. Keep your gaze steady. And then exhale, release, pedal your feet back and forth. Extended mountain pose, inhale. Chest is open, take your gaze up. Chin is lifted, shoulders relaxed. Chair pose, you're lifting your tailbone. Inhale here, exhale, release, fold down. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, softening neck and head. Step back, downward facing dog. Hold your down dog. Imagine an inhale from the pores of your skin and exhale from the pores of your skin. Breathe to the backs of your legs. You're grounding through your palms, chest moves closer towards your thighs. You're lifting your hips and heels. Start to lift your left leg, bend your knees, stack your hips, and now left knee towards that left elbow. Hover, lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips. Release your foot back down towards the floor. Generous breath. Inhale, exhale. And now lift your right leg, bend your right knee, stack your hips. Right knee towards that right elbow, hover. And then lift your leg, bend your knees, stack your hips, generous breath. Release your foot back down towards the floor. Knees on the mat, step down into a child's pose, re-engaging with your intention that you set earlier in class. Welcoming your breath, therefore welcoming your experience. Inhale. Exhale. About 3 more cycles of breath here in your child's pose. And then you'll start to release your child's pose. From your child's pose, lift back up, downward facing dog. Hold that downward facing dog at least 3 breaths. Notice that upper body strength supporting you in your downward facing dog. Feel free to hear your inhale and exhale. And then shift into a plank pose. Hold your plank pose. You're lifting your core up towards the ceiling, pressing through your palms. Palms are directly beneath your shoulders.
And then engage your glutes, lift up, downward facing dog, hold. Deep belly breath in your down dog. And then plank pose, hold your plank pose, inhale. Exhale, another cycle of breath in your plank pose. And then lift up, downward facing dog, generous breath in your downward facing dog. And then plank pose, last round. Hold that plank pose, activate your core strength, glute strength, quad strength, press through your palms firmly. Generous breath supports you in this endurance. Your body is active. And then shift to downward facing dog. Generous breath in your down dog. And then plank pose, knees onto the mat. Release down towards the floor. We're going to take our hands back. Now you can have the choice of interlacing your fingers, palms touching or not, or you can just shoot your hands back. Tops of the feet can float off the floor. We're gonna inhale up and then exhale, release. We're supporting that opening and that arch throughout the spine. 4 more times, inhaling up, exhaling, releasing. 3 more times, inhale up, exhale, release. Second time, use that breath to find that lift. Glutes are engaged. Exhale, release. On that last round, remain there an extra breath cycle 2 or 3. Inhale, lift up and hold. You're not holding the breath, you're holding the pose for 2 or 3 breath cycles. And then release your cheek on to the mat. Soften neck and shoulders down the length of your spine. Noticing that influx of energy in the body. Your body's relaxed, yet your mind is alert and focused. Still inviting intentional breaths as we continue to build that bridge of our physical, mental, emotional bodies. Inhale. Exhale. 1 more breath cycle. Inhale. Exhale. And then start to release. This time we're going to take both arms out. Do be cautious around your shoulders. Don't crunch them up next to your ears. You want to be purposely drawing your shoulders back. Feet can float off the floor. Inhale up. Exhale. Release. Inhale up. Exhale. Release. 3 more times. Inhaling up. Exhaling, releasing. On that last and 5th round, extend or invite another breath cycle, 2 or 3. Core strength, strength throughout your lower back and mid back, upper back. Stretch here in your abdomen, glutes are active, quads as well, and release. Opposite cheek onto the floor. Soften your body, notice that influx of energy.
Deep belly breath and release. We'll go ahead and shift into a downward facing dog. Hold your down dog. Lift your left leg, bend your left knee, stack your hips. Left knee towards that right elbow, hold, hover, and then lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. Release your foot back down towards the floor, and now opposite side. Lift your right leg, bend your right knee, stack your hips. Right knee now towards that left elbow, hover, press through your palms, generous breath. And then lift your leg, bend your knee, stack your hips. Release your foot back down towards the floor. Inhale, exhale, step down, child's pose. Re-engaging with that intention. Noticing that stillness and spaciousness we can cultivate just by paying attention. If you ever have trouble concentrating, just lengthen the length of your inhale and exhale a little longer than you're accustomed to. Another 3 breath cycles in your child's pose. Generous breath, inhale, exhale, side out. And then start to shift away from your child's pose. We're going to come to sit. So we're going to prepare for a camel pose. And it is a pose that you can hurt yourself in if you're not careful. So I really recommend that you can first start out with being on your knees, interlacing your fingers, drawing your shoulder blades, and then getting acquainted with that feeling of dropping your head back. Now, as I'm dropping my head back, I'm very aware of my core opening and my back opening, my shoulders sliding back, and then dropping my head back. I'm drawing my shoulder blades closer together, my elbows are long, so you interlace your fingers. Palms don't necessarily have to touch. And then see how you feel with opening up the throat, opening the chest, dropping your head back. Because that's sometimes the part that feels uneasy, and then we start feeling uneasy, and then you stop being aware of your core, and that's where the potential injury comes. So please remain in this variation of your camel pose, opening the throat, dropping your shoulders back. So only if you've had experience before with your camel pose, or you feel pretty confident that you're comfortable reaching your hands back to grab around your ankles, then go ahead and do so. I'll go ahead and break it down first. I'm opening throughout the core. So there's a stretch in my abdomen. I'm very aware of my core. It's not as if I'm just concentrating hands on my ankles. I'm very aware of stretching and opening out throughout the quads, and that kind of cord kind of lifting me up throughout the belly. And then I'm very comfortable in allowing and releasing my head to pull back. And then I trust that my hands find my ankles. First, I find my heels, and I drop my head back. Keep your hands on heels or ankles. Engage your glutes. Inhale. Exhale, release. And transition into a seated position. We'll sit into a cross-legged position. So you want to move slowly. Our camel poses open up a lot of energy. Hands rest on your knees. Spine is long. Keep your gaze steady across the floor or room to one point. A steady gaze, a steady mind. So watch for those moments where your eyes flicker around. Hold. Inhale. Exhale. And then release. We'll bring our shoulders up close to our ears, draw them back. And then draw your shoulders up closer to your ears, draw them forward. Release, take your hands right behind your head, elbows are bent. See if you can press your elbows a little bit more towards the back and then twist towards the left and towards the right. Protecting our spine with all those back openers we did. And then release your hands. Take that left hand to rest on your knee, twist towards the right. Chin moves towards your shoulders. Use that grip to intensify the twist. And then release. Opposite side. Release, come back to center. Hands on knees, drop your chin towards your chest. Roll your head from one shoulder to the next. We tend to store tension in the sides of the neck, back of the neck, upper back, and shoulders. Take a moment to release here. If you prefer to work on some meditation, you can bring your head back to a neutral position, eyes open or closed. I do recommend taking some time here. With the neck, we tend to hunch over with our neck and shoulders, with our laptops and smartphones in the car. When we're stressed, we'll lift our shoulders up a little bit more. Take an opportunity here to heal, to balance this area. To notice what might feel sore. And we'll start after another breath, start to bring our head back to a neutral position. Once you're there, together, let's inhale here, exhale, sigh it out. And now let's transition to lay on the mat. Let's lengthen our legs out in front.
Take our hands out for workout, palms up towards the ceiling, slowly release down towards the floor. Find a point to hover, glutes, quads, core are active. And then drop your head back, gather an inhale here, exhale, sigh it out. Let's release some compression in the lower back, bend your knees, feet on the floor, butt hips width distance apart. Inhale, lift your hips as high as you can. Palms on the mat, or you can interlace your fingers, either option works. Roll, glutes are engaged. And release, hips on the floor. Take a breath, inhale, exhale. And then second round out of 3, lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Exhale, release. Third round, inhale, lift your hips up towards the ceiling. Exhale, release. Your hips back down to the mat. Inhale here, exhale, sigh it out. Bend your knees, feet float off the floor. Grab your knees with your hands, rock to the left and to the right. Protect the lower back, run the tailbone, massage there. And then grab your feet with your hands. Lengthen one leg more than the other. Bend both knees, lengthen both legs, rock to the left, to the right. You want to get that final stretch from ankles, calves, hamstrings, hips, and glutes, lower back. I'm going to massage the mid back. Take a few moments here. And then release to your final resting pose. Lengthen your legs. Heels meet the mat. Palms face up towards the ceiling, back to the hands on the mat. Back of the head meets the mat. Together, let's inhale here, exhale, sighing out. Releasing anything that doesn't serve you. 2 more times actually. Let's inhale, receiving anything that supports you. Exhaling, sighing out, releasing anything that does not. Last round. From here, you can let your breath go back to its natural rhythm. You also have the option of practicing some intentional deep lung breaths. There are benefits to both. Choose what's best for your body right now. Notice the wisdom of this pose. This last resting pose allows you to integrate your practice.
to release and let go of what doesn't serve, to receive what does support you. It's a pose that teaches us the wisdom of slowing down, softening, being, doing nothing. Soften your forehead, jaw, neck, and shoulders. Down the length of your arms, wrists, and fingertips. Soften around the hips, behind the knees, down to your ankles and toes. And then we'll start to shift our attention back to our breath, inviting a generous and leisurely inhale and exhale. Restore some movement to your fingertips and your toes. You have the option of inviting a full body stretch or turning your body to one side. Invite a generous and a leisurely breath. And then after another breath or two, make your way to your seated position, whatever that looks like for you. And once you find yourself there, make any adjustments to feel more in integrity with your seat, with your practice. And we'll take a moment to notice here that when we self-care, we're much more able to help and support others. So notice that as we welcome our breath, it's a practice of self-care, self-compassion. And always honor your practice and how far you've come. On that note, we'll seal the class with an intentional breath. Let's take our hands in front of our heart center. In gratitude, let's inhale here and exhale. And in the tradition of yoga, the highest in me sees the highest in you. May we walk with each other in gratitude.